guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Mr. Extra from Team Extra, and I got a couple of the boys in here with me to help us do a guesstimation for how post info is going to look. Who's in here with me right now?
You got Jake, the Pearly God.
So we got Jake from State
Oh,
Farm,
and you got the Haikage himself in here. What's going on, everybody?
Mr. Jackie Chan. Yes, everyone knows who you are. Alright, so let's get right down to the meat of the content, right? So, let's go ahead and as I pull these up, I'm put them on the tier list. It'll slide the other ones up, so I don't have to scroll all the way down. So first thing to talk about, this is post info. Obviously, this is still a guess, but we just want to put our opinions out there, see how it goes. Where do you guys post info? Do you think Ragnar Rika or that new Ragnar archetype? This is
Before
gonna be trap trick
we
too.
get into the meat, before we get into the sort of decks, did you want to mention that we don't know if the Fiendsmith Link 2 is going to be in the set or not? I'm going to be kind of ranking the decks under the assumption that it will be. But even if it's not, the generic Fiendsmith engine is still going to be played. So I think it's worth considering that. And I'm going to be considering a lot of these decks with the Fiendsmith. In terms of the plant deck, though, I don't think now's the time. I think eventually the deck will get better. I just think that
Where would you put it at?
I just don't really see it competing with a lot of the other decks, assuming there's no ban list before Nats. So I'm gonna say not good for now, but I do think like towards the latter half of the year, this deck will see more play.
All right, Jackson. Same for you, buddy.
Um, well, it looks like another engine that doesn't really lock you in anything, so it's going to be splashing into a lot of stuff. I would have to agree with the Link too, because if it's not in this set, it's always going to be in the next set for support.
All right, where would you put this archetype post info?
Um, I would put it playable.
See, so my opinion
I feel like people are going to
is
find some goofy ways of putting it around.
pretty similar to Jake's actually, because the deck's cool, but it doesn't really even. I don't see it even. It gets the trap card post info, which is that actually changes a little bit, but I don't think it's going to change enough to strong arm Snake Eyes Fiendsmith or anything like that. So I'm going to have to agree.
I don't think the end board is scary enough for that deck.
All right, this one should be easy. Snake Eyes. Should I even ask?
Best choice. Best choice. Best choice. Like the only thing that's going to stop this is going to be a ban list, and because we don't know if there's going to be a ban list, there's nothing. The thing that makes Snake Eyes broken as a Snake Eyes player is every card is an extender and a starter. It's pretty much the only deck in the game where every deck is an extender and a starter, except for like the level 8s. Even Oak, if you have like Bonfire in your hand as a starter, like it's pretty crazy.
All right. I assume Jackson agrees with us because Snake Eyes just been super dominant.
It's been everywhere lately. I mean, we've seen it go full power on Master Duel. We see it with spell limitations, and it's still cracked.
I want to caveat with this.
What?
It's not on the same level as like something like a Shizu tier, but the issue is if you're going to an event like a YCS, I still think you're at a pretty distinct disadvantage at not playing Snake Eyes. And I want to ask before we move on, is the Fire King variant in here or not?
Yeah. There, Fire King itself and the variant is in here. You'll see it. Okay. Let's
yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, well, Ponix is... There's a picture of Ponix we can talk about when we get to Ponix. Alright, Heroes.
Yeah.
Anybody?
I think Hero gets a little worse after the next set, because I think Droll and Lockbird is kind of going to... I don't think it's even that good right now, but Droll and Lockbird I think is going to become more prevalent again, and that completely wrecks on this. They already get wrecked by Nibiru. But then again, I think Nibiru is going to completely fall out of favor once info comes out. So I think it's going to remain and not good, honestly.
What about you, Jackson?
Just because that I think Droll is going to be more popular, but Nibiru is going to be less popular. So the two hand traps that curb stomp them.
I agree. It could.
I think Droll curb stomps them more than Nibiru, though. So I think they're going to...
Well, yeah, as long as they don't set out Dark Law at the beginning there. Yeah. Alright, Jackson, what about you? Good talk, Jackson. Good talk. We'll put it not playable. I'll put it better than the new plan deck. Okay. Dynamorphia. Thoughts, concerns, anyone? Wow, you're both pretty quiet. Any input, Jake? Nobody? What? Y'all even still here? Huh.
Gonna be closer to not good than playable.
What about you, Jackson? Huh. I think Jackson might be having an issue with his mic or something. I haven't heard him in a second. So, my take on Morphia is I would only put it as playable for the fact of how cheap this deck is. But it also gets blown out pretty easily. But, if they're going first, you're probably going to need at least 2 back row blowouts in order to deal with them, though. Agree or not, Jake? Yes, no? Huh. Alright, next up is Horus. This could be like, when I put Horus by itself here, I'm thinking like more of a stun Horus. Horse stun. So my take on Horse Stone is it's really good, but it 100% has to go first, unfortunately. And I think we're having comm communications. Alright, 1 second. Alrighty. Alrighty, so what's your opinion on Morphia, Jackson?
Morphia, I mean, same as almost any other back row deck. If you have the right materials, it can be taken out. If you don't, it's going to destroy you.
Gotcha.
I
I
mean,
only put it in playable for the mere fact that you usually, to blow out this back row for this deck, you literally need 2 back row removal cards back to back, most likely. It's not like Lab.
I'll say it's playable.
Okay. Alright, so let's move on to Horus Stun. What y'all say?
Not good.
Not good? I kind of agree with
I
you.
think the Horos engine is just better in a deck like Lightsworn or Kier. Like, I don't think Horos Stun on its own is strong enough. I think Runic Stun just infinitely shits on Horos Stun, so I just see no reason to play Horos Stun at all. In fact, I could put it under play something else, just on the basis of I don't think there's a single day where I would rather play Horos Stun than Runic Stun.
Well, yeah, Horus by itself in a deck is super boring, in my personal opinion. That's like very, very based deck, I guess is the word. Alright, moving on. Ragnarika, like actual plants.
Not good.
What about you, Jackson?
Personally, I haven't messed with the Rika side of it. I've messed with Trap Tricks and Rummage. So I can't really give a good opinion on it. Anytime I've actually went against Rika, they messed me up. So I guess that'd be playable / not good. But I don't know too much on it, so I can't really put it there.
I put it more of not good along Jake because unless it's Europe, they ain't doing all that much over here.
I agree.
Alright.
And Dark World.
Yeah, Dark World.
Not good.
yeah. We don't have to discuss about that very much.
Yeah, the only thing I'm gonna add again is that I do think Droll will be played more next format. The only reason Dark World is like you could maybe make the argument for playable, which I wouldn't even do, is that nobody's playing Droll right now. I think next format Droll is at least gonna be a little more popular than it is now. So it's not good bordering on play something else.
Gotcha. Alright, Dragon Link.
Not good.
Terrible. Get rid of it. Play something else. No one likes Dragon Link. It's a trash game. It's like Flunder.
Damn,
I don't even mind Dragon Link. I just think the end board nowadays is just not strong enough. And again, I also think, I've mentioned this like 4 times. Droll might be a little more popular next format, and also Dragon Link really can't play the Fiendsmith package, which I think for a combo deck is a pretty big disadvantage. So I would put it in not good, just on the basis that I don't see, unless you personally really like Dragon Link, why you would choose to play that deck.
That's fair. I'm pretty biased in my opinion, so I won't get mine, so I'll throw it in the not good just to save the conversation. Alright, Salamangreat.
Playable. A solid playable deck. Like this deck, I could even say, I don't think it's up to can compete because I won't save that for a couple other decks later. Because I don't think anything can really go in the same tier as Snake Eyes except for maybe one other deck, which we'll get to later. I would say playable is a really solid spot for Salad. I mean, it can play 3 hand traps. I think the end board's a little on the weaker side, but it's really resilient to hand traps, which is definitely a big pro.
I assume Jackson agrees because Salad seems like it just needs someone who's really good with it.
Yeah, it really depends on the pilot.
Alright. Goblins. Let's go.
Oh, you want my opinion on goblins? Jake, you can go first.
Jake's gonna have to go first on this.
Play something else. Unless Pearly suddenly becomes popular, play something else.
Alright, Jackson. Your turn.
You did not just say that. Really? That is best choice right there. I can take out Snake Eyes any day of the week with my goblins. You want to go?
Snake Eyes detaching material from... You detach Z's material from Promethean Princess, you're chilling, man. You're right.
You don't understand what I can do with that deck, man. It's crazy. I'll be attaching all your stuff like Roadkill.
Alright. Here's my take on goblins. I think that they're better than play something else because they have a Fiend in their deck. They can play the Fiendsmith package. They don't get locked anywhere. And then it just gets them a free Crazy Beast, free Beatrice, which they probably wouldn't play Beatrice. They'd probably just make a Crazy Beast super early. That's what I'd do. Or a free Wave King Caesar.
See, that's why I think it belongs and play something else, though, because why wouldn't you just do that in a different deck?
I would do that in Goblins, definitely. That sounds amazing, putting a Wave King on the field with Big Gabonga and Crazy Beast. Oh, that sounds cracked.
If you guys want to put it in not good, it's fine. I just think, just for the record, I think it belongs and play something else.
I think it goes up and can compete.
I like the deck, and I don't even agree on that. I'm sorry.
Wow. Bunch of haters in here. I see. Right. I see.
Cash Terra.
Pure Cash is not good.
What about you, Jack?
Now, it depends if they catch you off guard.
It's a shifter deck. If they don't open shifter, if you literally just ash the field spell, 80% of the time they're going to pass.
True. Sprite.
I also think, before we move on, I think that also Unicorn is just so susceptible to hand traps. It's crazy. And I want to add this because there's not a spot for it. For the record, I think post-infill, it's going to kind of die off. But I think Cash Snake is just as good as Pure Snake. Just for the record currently, but I think post-infill, you're only going to see Pure and Fiendsmith Snake.
Alright, so what about Sprite?
Not good.
Sprite, get a Dr. Pepper instead.
Alright, Infernoid.
Not good. Playable, actually. Like, because it can use the Snake Eye cards, on that base alone, it's playable, but I do think it's worse than both Fire King and Cash Snake, and definitely worse than Fiendsmith Snake.
Alright. Centaurian.
Playable. I think any deck that can do the Calamity Lock is playable. The issue is the choke point is pretty obvious. I've seen Centurion used as an engine. I don't know if I fully agree with that either. But I do think you have to respect a deck like Centurion and play cards like Ogre and Droplet somewhere in your list, just because if you don't, Calamity Lock is gonna wreck you.
Alright. This is gonna be a fun one. Ice Barriers.
I'm between not good and playable, but with all due respect, I think it's better than the decks in not good, so I'll say playable.
What about you, Jackson?
I would say it can compete. I mean, from going back in the days where Dance Princess on the field with Cryomancer on Wetlands was cracked to what it is now, or what it will be. I think it'll be can compete or probably a good right up there with a great choice or best choice.
I think best choice is way too high. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say playable. It's playable, but we gotta see how good it is into the new format.
If we're assuming there's no ban list, I think there should be a max of like 2 to 3 decks in best choice.
Okay, y'all are gonna have to go first. We're talking about Lightsworn. I'll have to put my opinion last.
I'd say playable. I think any mill deck it can be tough because there's so much RNG involved. I think, and we're doing this under the basis of I want to make this clear. This is under the assumption you're playing like the Horos package at least, if not other engines on top of that, like Bestials. But I think this deck is playable. I think at larger events the milling can, over like a 9+ round tournament, the milling can get in your way of topping, or like a 9 round tournament. And I do think going second in this deck, because it has so few non-engine spots, is going to struggle against the Fiendsmith board. So on that basis, I think playable is a good spot, personally.
Jackson.
Which one we talk about, Lightsworn?
Yeah.
Well, it really depends. If you get somebody who played during the Edison era, then you got somebody who's got PTSD. As soon as they see the first Lightsworn, they're going to panic and quit.
So, where would you put it?
I put it compete. I think it can compete. It really does. It's kind of like what he said with the RNG. It really does depend on your mills. But other than that, you kind of manipulate them with Weiss or Vice, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
So that can definitely come in handy.
I just think the only reason I see it being a little worse post info is, like I said, it has so few non-engine spots, or so few like hand trap / board breaker spots, that it's going to struggle in the Fiendsmith boards.
Granted, it's going to be playing it too.
I know, but going second, because there's not a lot of like board breaker or like hand trap spots, if really any at all, it's going to struggle breaking that board if it goes second.
I'll just put it in playable because for someone who plays the deck, your mills determine a lot, and it needs someone who actually knows how to play the deck good.
Agreed.
Okay, voiceless.
This is a little weird for me because I used to say can compete, but I think the deck is getting power crept a bit. I want to push it more towards playable than can compete at this point because I think it's significantly weaker than Tenpai. I think it's significantly weaker than Branded. I think it's weaker than Lab. I think the deck has been power crept, honestly. I just don't think one negate with a big body is enough anymore.
Fair. It's really not. The Cerebus literally makes that deck at this point.
Even then,
Old Man Cerebus does make that deck.
I think the whole appeal is that it can play through 2 hand traps pretty easily and still end on the same board. But I think with hand traps probably going down in usage when Fiendsmith comes out, I don't see it going second and breaking a Fiendsmith board at all.
Okay.
One well-placed Ghost Ogre with it is destroying that deck, too.
Tenpai.
Yeah. Tenpai's can compete. It's going to get better with the new support. I still think this is a gimmick deck, but it's one of the most effective gimmick decks we've seen since Thunderies.
I feel like it'd just be another best choice because it gets support. It gets direct support post info as well.
I don't think it's going to be as good as Snake Eyes or another deck we're going to see later. I think it's noticeably worse than Snake Eyes. Just because this deck loses really hard to cards like Skill Drain, D-Barrier. There's no like blowout card for Snake Eyes. That's sort of what makes Snake Eyes so strong. There's no total blowout card against Snake Eyes. There's a lot of blowout cards against Tenpai.
Alright, we'll move on then. Vanquished Soul.
I must say playable. Honestly, I think this deck is a little underrated. I don't think it's super great, but it does, because it can dodge all the targeting negates, which I think are going to be the only hand traps played next format, along with maybe Droll and Ash. I see Vanquish still actually doing okay. I think it's definitely better than the decks and not good, personally.
Jackson, opinion on Vanquished Soul.
I feel like it's one of those decks that if you don't read the cards, you're going to lose. Based on a best of 3 time limit format. Game 3 is really just going to get you being burned.
So,
it is
playable, not good? What?
I would say it's playable, mainly for the sole fact that people know what they're doing while playing the deck. they might slow play you a little bit, and then when you got like 30 seconds in like main phase 1 of game 3, they're gonna burn you for like 1,500.
All right, Runic.
So
As much as I hate to say it, can't compete. The reality is, like, just this, if you open Synchro Zone and like skill drain in the fountain, you're probably gonna.
All right.
yeah,
All right.
I have to agree with that because all of our stuff to stop Runic is banned. I mean, we're limited with anti-spell, Royal Decree's banned. I
Royal
don't know,
Decree's not banned.
All right, guys.
not Royal Decree, Imperial Order. See, I always get
Yeah,
this
but
mixed up.
the other thing too is that the Hugin, like the cards that are supposed to be blowouts against them, like Duster and stuff, Hugin stops. I guess they kind of fold if they're on like the really heavy backer variant to cards like Evenly. But I don't think Evenly's gets you any play next format anyway with Fiendsmith, so it doesn't really matter.
So this next one, I'm just gonna save you all the conversation and do that.
Yeah.
What was the next one?
Vanadium.
Canadian
Mana.
play something else.
I agree. And this is coming from an old Vanadium player. It's not good right now. There's too much shit in the format that stops it.
Yeah, it's over.
Especially the upcoming format with Droll coming back. This deck lives and dies by Droll. Without Baron, it dies way quicker.
Yep.
Chimera.
Not good. As an engine with branded, I still think pure branded is way better anyway. I think Chimera, it can be so weird when you see a deck have like 9 cards in its hand, but the big boss monsters just don't do enough. I'd say not good.
Jackson, what about you?
I'd say it really varies on what your opponent is playing against it because there's a lot of illusion cards they're coming out with now, like Diabells can be splashed into the deck.
Yeah, this will be post info, so it could also play the Fiendsmith package too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I still know why you picked this over some other options though. I mean, I could put it in playable. I agree with that. I just think that when I'm looking at playable, I think every deck in playable is better than it, but I think it's better than every deck in not good. So it's sort of on that borderline.
That's fair. Alright, branded.
Can compete. Listen, if people are playing less hand traps next format, Puppet Lock just gets even stronger. Until Puppet Lock is banned, and Branded is definitely... What's great about Branded is you're going to see pretty much your engine the entire game because you're just playing all gas. And I think Branded's one of the strongest decks in the game. It's just a very big brain deck, so you're not going to see as many people piloting it. But just, you have to respect Puppet Lock. Like, if your side is not prepared to counter Puppet Lock, you could just get blown out a couple rounds at a big event just based on that fucking puppet.
I completely agree with you. What about you, Jackie?
Puppet Go Burr.
Labyrinth.
I'm between can compete and playable, but I want to say can compete. I think Labyrinth is really strong. I think the fact they can set cards like D-Barrier, they can set cards like Blackout Laughs. I think that's going to be really strong, especially like if you just want to turn off somebody's Fiendsmith engine, setting Blackout Laughs is really damn strong.
I agree that Lab is a can compete deck right now.
That sounds pretty accurate for it.
Requires a decently seasoned Lab player, but
Yeah.
I mean, Lab can blow out any deck if it's got the right starting cards. Alright, Fire King and Variance. So Snake Eyes is included.
Here's a weird thing. In a way, it's can compete or play something else, because I do think this is the worst variant of Fire King. So in one way, it's like, why would you play that? But I'm going to say can compete on the basis of there are some matchups where playing the Fire King Snake Eyes is objectively better than playing like pure cash. Lab being one of them. So yeah, I think that can compete is a good spot. I think it's definitely worse, but yeah.
You got the same general opinion, Jackson?
Yes, I do.
Alright. Sky Striker.
Play something else.
I mean,
they're using like a 6-year-old strategy, man. Get over it.
Yeah,
Get a new waifu.
They did just get a bunch of new cards, though, out of the Icebreaker set, though.
Get a new waifu.
They're not bad, but the game plan just isn't there anymore.
Especially if you're going second striker into a Snake Eye board, I don't think it's going to work.
Especially with a Fiendsmith board, I don't see a single possibility where
Alright.
Sky Striker can go second in a Fiendsmith board.
Fiendsmith by itself, I'm gonna put in place something else because it doesn't have.
It's an engine. That's all there is
yeah,
to
it
it.
doesn't really have a whole lot going on for it. It's just playing the Fiendsmith cards because they're getting the first set in info. You go.
I think this is the only deck that could possibly go in best choice. I'm still kind of lean towards can compete because I want to see what it can do. And I think Ubel has pretty obvious choke points when they're going first, but I could respect putting this in best choice.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be crazy because I mean with the fusion that they just got and then the Fiendsmith that they're getting in info, I think it's actually gonna show out really good.
I think I've mentioned this. I think Ubel is going to actually have people with like cards like Spear Mode and Lava Golem in their side because they do fold to those types of cards. So I think we'll have to see how people prepare on the side, but I do think you will see cards like Spear Mode and Lava Golem side a lot this format.
All right. We got 2 left. Tier.
This is so hard because I love this deck. I'm kind of leaning between playable and not good.
Why is that?
It's an all gas deck, but it's also a mill deck.
My opinion's a not good only because like it's too limited to, you know, do what it does. It requires a lot of extra stuff to do what it does, which you get it. But even then, ending on like Kaleido Heart and Recalos and like a Super Poly or something, that's not always enough.
I mean, they can play the Fiendsmith. I don't think they will.
What's their well, they're gonna have to hard open that spell in order to even play the Fiendsmith.
Exactly. So I'm gonna say not good. Sadly.
All right, last one, Marincess.
Not good. The deck only wins by people just hand trapping the first 2 or 3 things they see, and they do have a lot of non-engine. But again, I don't see Marincess breaking a Fiendsmith board.
That is fair. Alright, so, before we cut this off, do you guys have anything you want to tell our fan base?
You know, I'm really looking forward to what Ubel can kind of do, but I will admit the only worry I have for this upcoming format is it's going to be a dice roll format with the Fiendsmith. It sort of depends. I mean, I think we might see something similar to Cash format where you might see people literally playing cards like Lava Golem, Spear Mode, just to have a chance to participate in the duel. And I think that'll be a little strange to see, just because it's been like 2 years since we've seen something like that. But I do think we're gonna see something akin to Cash format with the, with the Fiendsmith cards.
What about you, Jackie?
Well, if we think Droll's coming back, it's gonna be a fun format. I feel like a lot of people now are figuring out the power of Nobleman a Crossout, or Crossout Designator, his retrain.
Nobleman a Crossout.
Well, pretty much that's what he is.
Yeah,
Just tell him it's fancier hair.
Alright. The only thing I have to say is, same as always, like, comment, subscribe. If you feel like we missed your deck on this tier list, please feel free to leave a comment down below and let us know. And yeah, don't forget to check out Dueling Guard. Promo code's Team Extra in all capitals as always. And if you're ever in the Northern Kentucky area, you should check out Imports. It's really fun locals. That's all we got for you though.